Return to our main story, the general election campaign. The Conservative Party has promised that it will not raise VAT if re-elected in July.
Also claiming that Labour's plans have an economic black hole of nearly £40 billion. Let's talk to the Chancellor, Jeremy Hunt, now. Very good morning to you, Mr Hunt. Thank you for your time this morning. Let's try and concentrate on things that really matter to people in their homes and in their lives. Will household budgets be better in 5 years than they are now under a Conservative administration?
I hope so. What I can confirm is that a future Conservative government will not increase income tax, national insurance or VAT. And that is a very important commitment to people who are worried about cost of living. And I think people are right in an election campaign to be worried about a Labour Party that can't make up its mind on those basic economic questions. 4 times this week they refused to rule out increasing VAT. Overnight we hear they are ruling it out. And when you have an economy that's turned a corner, a Labour Party that can't make up its mind on those basic questions can only mean one thing as sure as night follows day, that taxes will go up. And that is something that people will be very, very worried about.
You're campaigning, people understand that. I will quote the Shadow Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, who has said Labour will not be increasing income tax, national insurance or VAT. That's clear.
She said that last night, but 4 times this week, her and Keir Starmer refused to rule out increasing VAT. You can look at the national insurance cuts, which initially she supported. Now she says she doesn't want to bring down national insurance further. You can look at the £28 billion of borrowing that they dithered on for months and months. And what you have is a party that, when it comes to the basic economic questions, cannot make up its mind. And when you have, since 2010, an economy where we have created more jobs, attracted more investment, grown faster than nearly any other major European economy, it is a big risk, frankly, to hand that over to a party that can't make up its mind on the basics. Because when Labour can't make up its mind, what always happens is they end up putting up taxes.
Well, you said the same thing twice now, and I will repeat what Rachel Reeves has said, which is Labour will not be increasing income tax, national insurance or VAT. That is where it is now, regardless of what's happened in the past. Let's talk about your spending plans. And I'm looking at the words from the IFS, who have said finances are a dark cloud over the election campaign. And that is not specific to you. That is to all parties. And they have questioned, as a lot of people have in a common sense way, how is it that if you don't squeeze services, spend less money, or raise taxes, or increase borrowing, you can achieve what you say you will?
Well, the IFS are absolutely right to point to the fact that public finances are very challenging. And because we want to avoid austerity-style cuts that we had to have after the financial crisis, I set out in the budget very clear plans to improve the efficiency of public services. And I took a very difficult decision. I put £3.4 billion into improving the IT systems in the NHS, which you were actually talking about in your previous item. That's not something that's a big vote winner, but it will make the NHS more efficient, mean it can do more operations, and mean that we can run our public services more efficiently with similar amounts of money, or in fact with a small increase in the amount of funding we put in. So that is a challenging plan to deliver. We've set out that plan and we've put money behind it, which is why we are confident that we can live within our means. But the point I would make, Charlie, is that Conservative governments are prepared to take those kind of difficult decisions to make sure that we can continue to grow the economy. But when it comes to tax or welfare reform or keeping a flexible labour market so we keep creating the jobs we need, you don't see a willingness to take those decisions from the Labour Party. And in an election campaign, I think it is legitimate for me to point out those differences because of the risk involved. The IMF, International Monetary Fund, said just last week, they thought that we would grow faster than France, Germany, Italy or Japan over the next 6 years. That's a big vote of confidence, and not something we want to put at risk.
But at the same time, people will be well aware of the reality of where your Conservative government has taken them in terms of their household budgets. They will be looking at mortgages, which remain stubbornly high because of what a former Conservative Prime Minister did. They'll be looking at the reality of inflation that may be coming down now, but the living cost of that remains higher. That happened under your administration.
Well, Charlie, I really would challenge you, and I know the BBC is fiercely impartial. I would really challenge you on making statements like you've just said, because if the higher mortgage rates were as a result of Liz Truss, why is it that living standards have fallen further in Germany or Austria or Sweden? The reason why we've had this pressure, the reason why we had 11% inflation and interest rates had to go up, was because of Putin's invasion of Ukraine.
OK, Mr. Hunt, for the first time, I'm going to interrupt you there, because you challenge what we were saying there. Are you suggesting there was and is no connection between what Liz Truss did as Prime Minister and you took over as Chancellor in her time? Are you suggesting there is no connection between that and the interest rates that people are now or will be paying when their fixed rates end?
Well, I reversed the decisions that she took, and that's why I think you can see the reason that interest rates went up was because of global factors. I think most people understand that. Of course, the Labour Party would like to say that it's something that a Conservative government did. But look at what the Independent International Monetary Fund said just last week. They said the difficult decisions that Rishi Sunak and I have taken are paying off. That was the phrase that she used. Paying off. We've taken those difficult decisions, and she said that it is good news for the UK economy that we have turned a corner and that we're heading for a soft landing. Now, I think everyone knows that the last 4 years have been completely exceptional. We've had something we've never had in our lifetimes, not one but two global shocks in quick succession, an energy crisis and also a pandemic. But what you get with a Conservative government is a team of people who will take whatever difficult decisions are necessary to put the economy back on its feet.
When it comes to tax, will also be aware of, Chancellor, is that with a Conservative government, and these are statistically based, is higher taxes. It is what's happened. It may be your intention to bring them down. Can I just draw your attention? One other thing. I'd like a thought from you. People are well aware that the big energy giants have made enormous profits. I'm just looking at Centrica, for example. I think their most recent profits were 2.8 billion. Under a Conservative administration, would they pay more or less tax than they do now?
Well, we introduced windfall taxes.
No, I'm asking about the future. What would you do?
Would you just let me answer your question? So first of all, you asked me about taxes going up. And the answer to that is that, yes, I did put up taxes after the pandemic. But the big difference in British politics today in an election campaign is that a Conservative government wants to bring taxes back down, because we look around the world and we say the economies that are growing the fastest in America and Asia tend to be ones with lower tax rates. They have a more dynamic private sector, and that's what we think should happen here. And when it comes to the windfall profits made by energy giants, we have been prepared to take difficult decisions. We're the party of business, but we've said, yes, if there are windfall profits, then energy companies should pay their contribution towards all the cost of living support that we've given families, around £3,000 per household.
My question was, will they pay more or less?
Well, I want to start bringing taxes down on business and on consumers and on families, because that will help to grow the economy and create more jobs. So if you're asking me the direction of travel on tax, which I think is one of the most important questions in this campaign, I want to start bringing taxes down. I've made a start with the national insurance cuts and the full expensing for businesses to increase investment in the economy. And that's the direction of travel I would like to go.
We appreciate your time, Jeremy Hunt. Thank you very much. Jeremy Hunt, of course, is the Chancellor.